Christian Zeving, good morning. Welcome to Bloomberg. Fantastic to see you here in the building. Let's start talking about what is happening with the macro environment. The macro uncertainty that has driven markets so much recently, do you get the feeling that that is beginning to recede? Do you get the impression that you are increasingly on more solid ground?
Well, first of all, I think we all have to admit that if you look what has happened over the last 12 to 15 months in the macro, on the geopolitical side, I think economies have really shown how resilient they are. Because a year ago, a lot of people would have said there is a quite material recession in Europe, in Germany, potentially also in the US. And if we now look back, I think we see that the answer we have given is actually showing that we fared quite well over the last 12 to 15 months. Now, I think the situation remains complex. I do believe that with a very persistent inflation, interest will further go up on both sides of the ocean. Yep. And I also do believe, Guy, that the interest will then stay a little bit longer elevated than potentially a lot of people think. And that means that I still believe that there is a chance of a mild recession in the US at the end of 23, early 24, as well as in Europe. You see that Germany is in a technical recession, has been in a technical recession. So I don't believe that we will see a material recession, but I do think that uncertainty still prevails, and hence we need to watch out. And the second half of 2023 is for sure a half which is still complex and is still challenging.
So does that mean that the Q2 guidance that your CFO gave a few days back was just a blip? He was talking about fixed income being down 15 to 20%. You talk about the fact that the second half is going to see significant uncertainty. That's a good environment for fixed income. So therefore, was the Q2 guidance just a blip? And do you still believe that the full year numbers are going to be better than the numbers that James gave?
Well, let's start with the overall bank, and there we see a good momentum. That is the strategy of Deutsche Bank, that we said we need a more balanced bank. That was exactly what we wanted to achieve in 2019 when we called out the transformation of Deutsche Bank. And we see the results. We have a very strong corporate bank, a very nice developing private bank. And therefore we can confirm our 28 to 29 billion of revenues for this year. We see the momentum. We see a Q2, to be honest, Q2 2023 from a revenue point of view, which is higher than Q2 2022. So overall, I would say this bank is faring well. The strategy is paying off. With regard to the investment bank, we always said that we had a record year. We had an extraordinary strong year in the FIC business in 2022. I still think that actually in Q1 and Q2 we have done well, but the overall market is a bit weaker than in the record year of 2022. But I do believe with some uncertainties, for instance, the debt ceiling issue going away in the US, then with the still complex situation which is in front of us, I do believe that in Q3 and Q4 there is momentum in the business on the fixed side, but for us as a strategy of Deutsche Bank, it is important that we further balance out the investment bank overall. We have a very strong FIC business, we have a very strong DCM business. What we really wanted to achieve is that also the O&A business is further strengthened, and hence we have put a lot of investments into that.
So just to wrap this part of the conversation up, it's going to be an operating environment for the FIC business that is likely to be less good than last year. Q2 may or may not be a blip. You still see uncertainty in the second half of the year, which could provide opportunity. So on balance, the numbers are likely to be slightly better than the 15 to 20% that James guided to.
That's what I would say for the coming months and weeks. Again, Q2 was also a particular quarter, given the situation also which we had in the US. We can already see also now in June, on the most recent days, that there is momentum in the business. So I'm overall actually quite comfortable also with the FIC business. And again, Q2 was a particular quarter. I would say that the FIC business in Q3 and Q4 I think there was a slight recovery.
You are very good at keeping secrets. Let's talk about the Numis acquisition. For those of us that follow the bank, it caught us all by surprise. I understand you've been working on it for quite some time, but it definitely caught us by surprise. Was the offer just too good to refuse? Was the price just too good to refuse? Where did it come from? Where did your decision to go in this direction, the advisory business, come from?
Well, I just said it in my previous answer. You know, I'm a big believer, and the whole management team of Deutsche Bank is a big believer that we need balanced business, not only for the overall bank. That was the reason why we did the transformation 4 years ago.
Yep.
Stable, well-balanced setup with 4 businesses. In each of those businesses, I again want to be balanced. And we have a very strong FIC and DCM business. Where we wanted to further invest is in the O&A business. And you know, we looked at Numis for a long, long time, and yes, we kept the secret quite well, and we think it's an optimal addition to our business mix and to our offerings in Europe and in particular in the UK. The UK is from a fee market pool. It's the most lucrative European market. We are adding 170 top corporate clients, and it fits beautifully to our global house bank concept. Everybody is only thinking about the investment banking offering. And yes, that's obviously something we are very much interested in, and it fits to our existing positioning in the UK. But we have a really well-functioning corporate bank. So we have 170 additional clients with Numis now, and we can offer our corporate banking products. And at the same time, we have a private bank where I think we can also do the one or the other thing. So the overall global house bank concept is fitting very well to Numis, and therefore we looked at it very carefully. I'm very glad about the job Fabrizio and the team have done, and now we concluded this, and now we need to make the final steps, right?
Are you keeping more secrets from me? Are there? You talk about the other divisions and the fact that you want to have balance. Are there other deals in the offering? If another great opportunity came along, are you still interested, or is the dry powder gone?
No, I would say, look, I think we are very careful and cautious planning team. But of course, we always said that after restructuring and positioning this bank, we are up for growth. And we always said we want to grow in more capital-light products, which is, for instance, the O&A business, and the M&A business, in the advisory business. But you have also seen that we have done senior hires, again, in corporate finance, but also in the wealth management business. So we think that we can further balance out the business at some point in time over 2-3 years. You know, we want to also, and we need to plan for a situation that NII is at some point in time again coming down. We need then additional income streams, and this bank is planning for that and is investing for that right now. And hence, I wouldn't tell you about secrets because you just said we are good at it, at keeping it, but that there is a clear growth strategy in parts like wealth management, origination and advisory. Yes, we are focusing on that, and with the recent hires, we've seen that.
You talk about hires on the wealth side, though. Do you see the growth there being organic? Do you see it being via acquisition of talent rather than acquisition of businesses?
Well, it's both, but I do believe that we have now such a nice positioning and such a nice structure that we really do believe that if you have a chance to acquire and get good and great talent in all kind of regions, this is a really good way in step-by-step growing your business. Claudio de Sanctis has done that very successfully in Asia, in other parts of Southern Europe. So that is a first way of growing.
If Commerzbank ever came back, would you be interested in that acquisition? They have got a huge deposit base, which in this environment is hugely attractive.
Well, we also have a huge deposit base.
But put the two together, it would be even bigger.
Yeah, but I think we have shown also during the recent volatilities in the market how firm and how stable our deposit base is. So that is not a reason to actually think about further enlarging it or acquiring somebody else. I think the full focus of Deutsche Bank is in now, after successfully delivering the transformation over the last 3 or 4 years, is now growing into an area where we have a return on equity of larger than 10%. in 2025. We are on a good way of achieving that. The first quarter of 2023 has clearly shown the strengths of Deutsche Bank, and we can control it by ourselves. We can achieve that by ourselves, and that is our focus.
Let's talk about the buyback. If another great opportunity came up, would you be prepared to sacrifice the buyback in order to make that acquisition work, in order to provide the balance that you've talked about?
Look, I think banking and managing a bank is always in each and every aspect managing the balance. And I do believe that we also need to manage the balance between shareholders' expectations and investing into our business, but also always having obviously a cushion for any regulatory item which may come up. So you always need to balance these three items. We have clearly committed to our shareholders a capital distribution plan until 2025. There is a firm commitment to this. And hence, I'm a big believer that if you make promises to the market, promises to your shareholders, who have been very resilient with us, have been very patient with us in those years where Deutsche Bank really had to go through a severe transformation. I'm a big believer that we have to then also fulfill the promises. So with regard to the buybacks, we stand to our plan of delivering the 8 billion back to our shareholders, including the dividends. And we are working very constructively with the buybacks in the second half of this year in 2023, and I'm very confident that we can deliver on that.
You think the regulator will give you a tick in the box?
Well, again, we have constructive discussions, and as I said at the end of the first quarter, I'm confident, and I remain confident.
You spoke a moment ago about the difficult times that Deutsche has been through. When we went through the Credit Suisse crisis in Zurich, the first place that many people looked for the next kind of shoe to drop, unfortunately, was still Deutsche Bank. Are you not frustrated that that is still the market's muscle memory? What do you need to do to kind of remove that discount, that Deutsche discount, that still in many people's minds exists?
Look, I think it's delivery. It's quarter by quarter deliver. It is trying to achieve that, what in particular James and I am telling the market, and then being a trustful partner who is delivering on his promises and premises. And that's what we have done for 4 years. And you can also turn that around. Yes, there was the attack, so to say, on March 24th. But you have also seen how we have responded to that. By the way, how the market at the end of the day spoke for Deutsche Bank. It were external people, i.e. analysts, investors, who talked about Deutsche Bank in a very positive way and clearly said Deutsche Bank is not the second Credit Suisse. And I think we earned that from a capital point of view, from a liquidity point of view, from a diverse and so solid deposit base which we have. And most importantly, Guy, we are sustainable profitable. And that is something which we achieved over the last 4 years. It's not the question if we are profitable. Now the question is how we can come from 8 to above 10%. That's what we're working on. I think the market is seeing that. And if we are delivering on this quarter by quarter, and that's a clear commitment, the clear passion of this management team, and you see me in a quite good mood here, then honestly, the market will understand that at some point in time. So it's not frustrating. It shows me we simply need to continue to deliver, and we will deliver.
It worked. Is there a case that comes out of it of, and people are looking at this, of reforming the CDS trading environment, reforming regulation?
Look, that is not in my hands. But
would you welcome it?
Look, I welcome that I think regulators and authorities are taking a deep look what happened in March. Again, we were affected that day. It could have happened to other banks too. And in this regard, I think it is always good to take a deep look, monitor what has happened, and then I have the full trust that institutions and authorities take the right conclusions.
The Credit Suisse transaction is going to transform UBS. UBS may or may not become the dominant bank in Europe. If that were to be the case, how does that change the way that you think about how you're going to interact with your staff, how you're going to interact with your clients with such a large bank sitting on your doorstep?
Look, we always have to observe, obviously, competition. It would be wrong if I'm saying we are not doing this. But I think the most important when you manage a company, and I think the same is for a corporate as well as for the bank, you need to have your own strategy, you need to be clear what you're doing, and the clients need to understand where you're good at. And therefore it was so important that Deutsche Bank focused 2019 on those areas where we feel the clients really want to interact with us, want us as their bank. And that's what we are seeing. The reply and the response of clients working with us, the demand to work with us. By the way, in particular, in an environment of geopolitical changes, of geopolitical uncertainties, the advice clients want to have from us on the private banking side, on the corporate side, really shows us that we have a very solid place and standing in the banking industry. And therefore, as long as your own strategy is clear and the clients react to that and want to work with you, I think that is most important. Is scale important? Are other items critical? Of course. But for us, the first and most important thing is that your own business setup, your own strategy is working. This is now the case for Deutsche Bank. Now we want to grow from here. And I still think organically is the prime way. But if we have opportunities like with Numis, you've seen, we are not closing our eyes.
We're not closing our eyes. That will raise questions amongst shareholders about the buyback. Let's just come back to that one final time. What kind of numbers are you thinking about in the second half? Give me a sense of the figure that I should be looking. What are you talking to regulators about?
Look, I have a very precise CFO, and he said that we had that we have a clear plan how to grow our dividends year by year with a kind of a 50% increase year by year. We have seen that with the dividends which we paid in 23 for 22 when you compare to the previous years. If you do this kind of math for the buybacks compared to the last year, then you potentially have a number which is ballpark right. So in this regard, I think also there you see a gradual increase, a clear path. Most important for our shareholders is we stick to the plan to return 8 billion over the period which we committed.
Final quick question on the bank. AI. Who are you going to get to run it for you? Who's the person that has the vision to run that for you?
I think most important is that the whole management board is behind it. There is not the one person in the bank, but of course Bernd Leukert is our Chief Technology Officer in the board is spearheading this. But the nice thing in Deutsche Bank is that we are running approximately 8 projects in parallel now. And Bernd is working very closely with the business units, but also with infrastructure units to find out where can it really help, what kind of pilots can we run. I really do believe in order to move the overall company, the most important with these kind of mega topics like AI, it is critical that the whole management board is behind that we are all trained. And therefore we have also on the management board meeting and in the management board, I'm always asking that we get regular trainings on that and that we are regularly talking about these items. If we can't talk about that, if we don't understand it, 80,000 people will not follow. And hence, yes, it is Bernd Leukert, but always with the support and cooperation of the business units.
That wraps things up for the bank. I'd like to ask you 3 quick-fire questions on the management side. Basically, it's top management tip, advice for those starting out, and is returning to the office good for your career? So let's whip our way through those very quickly because I know you have a car to get into. So what is your top, you've been doing this a while now. What have you learned? What's the top management tip that you would take away?
Look, we just talked about AI but I keep telling my people banking will more and more be a technology business, but the most important is we are a people's business. And that means that you need to lead with passion, with teamwork, spirit, and you need to be a people's manager. And if you get this right and give clear direction to your organization, if you talk to your organization, if you include your organization, if you provide a trust level in this organization, then I think you will run a very, very successful company.
What advice would you give to those that are starting out with their careers?
Start with Deutsche Bank. It's a fantastic place to learn. I have to tell you, I mean, I started 33 years ago. I went through kind of all the first, second, and third line of defense. The opportunity this bank gives you from a content point of view, from a regional expertise. I was in Asia, I was in the US, I was in Europe, obviously. The opportunity you have to learn in this bank is unique. And if you are open and have the attitude that you always want to learn and that you want to cooperate with your colleagues, it's a fantastic place to work.
Is returning to the office good for your career?
Yes, definitely. I think we should all think about how we get more people back into the office. And I always think about the young people, the graduates. We will hire now again, I think 800 or 850 graduates starting now in July 1st with Deutsche Bank. They want to learn, they want to talk to the seniors, they want to interact, they want to know what the brand Deutsche Bank is all about, they want to think about innovations. I think we have done a superb job through COVID, all of us, to bridge it. But there is nothing which replaces personal interaction, and therefore I'm clearly working to get more people back into the office. It will be good for society, it will be good for the overall industry, it will be definitely good also for Deutsche Bank, but the most important is people need to interact, and therefore I want them to be back.
It has been a genuine pleasure this morning.
Thank you.
It's fantastic to see you so relaxed and positive about the bank and what the environment is going to look like going forward. So a great pleasure. Thank you very much indeed for your time.
Thank you very much.